Hey friends, welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's Sean from SGT Report.tv and SGTReport.com. Thank you so much for finding us on BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble, wherever you found us. Thank you so much for tuning in. Guys, before we begin this interview, just a quick word about one of the most important interviews you need to hear. And it's not even mine. It's an interview with Martin Armstrong from the Geopolitics and Empire YouTube channel, and I posted it on my site, thephaser.com, and Martin Armstrong explains exactly what the World Economic Forum's Great Reset is and how it's going to usher in global communism 3.0 if it's not stopped. And in my view, the only way it's going to be stopped is if Donald Trump is president for 4 more years. If Joe Biden gets in, he's going to fast track all of it. And friends, I will leave a link to that must-hear interview with Martin Armstrong directly below this interview. Guys, I'm very glad to have on the line the president and CEO of Great Thunder Gold, Blair Naughty, to talk about the precious metals in an age of what I think is coming as hyperinflation, guys. And this is a sponsored post, so my appreciation goes out to Blair and his team at Great Thunder Gold. Blair, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for coming on. I should let people know up front, Eric Sprott is in on this one. I've interviewed Eric in the past. He's a good guy. He's a smart guy. So we're going to talk about Great Thunder Gold. But first, let me just ask you, Blair, you're in Canada, correct?
Yes.
All right. Looking back at us down under, looking back at the United States right now, what are your thoughts on this insane election? And do you have any thoughts about which person will be better for gold and silver prices? Because you know they're both going to have to print. It doesn't matter who gets in. Any president will have to print. And then we're going to talk briefly about the Great Reset in a second.
Well, I mean, it's definitely interesting to watch. And I mean, I think we're more consumed with your U.S. politics than we are with our own politicians. And this one in particular is more exciting than usual. This beats the Al Gore recount. So there's a lot of uncertainty, I guess. I still have some diehard friends that think that Trump's going to win. I don't see it happening. No matter who wins, really, this COVID thing is really taking a bite out of the economy, and it doesn't seem to be going away for at least 12 months from where we are now, I would think. So there's going to be a lot of stimulus pumped in, into the economy, and which in turn into the stock market. Printing a lot of U.S. dollars it should be very good for gold in the future.
Yeah, I agree. And, meanwhile, we see Bitcoin hitting a new all-time high, pretty much getting near a new all-time high. And GBTC, the Bitcoin Trust, is up 70% in Q4 2020. Meanwhile, gold and silver seem to be kind of mired in the muck a little bit. Silver around 24, gold around 1850. Are you surprised that we haven't seen gold and silver run harder and run faster when we live in an age of endless central bank printing?
I'm a little bit surprised. I mean, but these things never happen when you expect them to, and they never happen, to the extent that you think they will on your timing. So, the trend is there. The uptrend has been in there for a while now. I don't see any other way to go but up. But there'll be setbacks along the way, and I think 2 weeks ago, the gold was at 1960, and everybody thought this is the week it's going to break 2,000. You wake up Monday, and it's down 100. So, but all the fundamentals are in place, and I guess if you're in Elliott wave theory and all those good things, the trend is definitely going in our favor, and I don't see anywhere else but up for gold in the next few years.
Have you been following any of what is being called the Great Reset that's being promoted by Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum? The reason I ask is because, A, I think it's a harbinger of bad things to come, economically speaking, for the people. But related to that, John Kerry is saying a Great Reset is needed to stop the rise of populism. What do you make of this Great Reset? In my view, it's got the fingerprints of globalists and one world government all over it.
Well, I think there's something to it. I mean, our prime minister actually, I believe, gave a speech on the Great Reset not that long ago, which is getting some media attention. He actually referred it to as, the Great Reset. So I'm not really an Illuminati conspiracy theorist sort of person, but I do think there is something more to it than we can see with our naked eye, for sure.
Your Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, did indeed mention the Great Reset.
This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset. This is our chance to accelerate our pre-pandemic efforts to reimagine economic systems that actually address global challenges like extreme poverty, inequality, and climate change.
We're going to have to keep our eye on that. So let me ask you, Blair, you've seen many bull markets come and go. What do you make of the current bull market in gold and silver? Do you think it has tremendous legs for the next decade?
I'm not sure about the decade. These things generally come in 6 to 8 year cycles. I mean, I'm 50 in a couple of weeks, and I've been at this since I was 18, so I'm 31 years in. Always had a mind for the metals market and played, the junior mining stocks my whole life. So I've had many booms and busts. And these tend to start slowly. The first couple of years, you don't really know you're in the start of the bull market, except for people now don't swear at you when you mention mining stocks. So that's the first step. And then, things start to creep up, and they have a couple surges here and there. So I would think we're probably in year 3 to 4 of a 6 to 8 year cycle. I don't think the general populace is into the junior mining stocks yet. I think there's some early leaders. The Europeans are usually in there first. The Canadians are always in there, but I don't think we've seen an influx of American capital or even Australia, probably some Australian capital. But I think the last people usually into the commodities and mining cycle are the Americans, and they have the most cash and they play the biggest. So.
Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit about the company and Eric Sprott's involvement. So, guys, Great Thunder Gold is a Canadian exploration company, and Eric Sprott took an interest in it. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? How did you guys attract renowned resource investor and billionaire Eric Sprott to invest in the company?
Well, I mean, I can take us back to, I guess, the early 90s when I was, 20, 23 years old. I actually got a job at Sprott Securities, which was a small little firm run by Eric, and I was lucky enough to be able to. And I learned a lot. And strangely enough, he was not really a mining guy back then. I was a bit of a mining buff, but he was making a lot of money in other sectors. It wasn't mining's turn. And when I left Sprott and went and did my own thing around the year 2000. I was doing very well in the tech market, and I ran into him at a steakhouse, and I remember him saying to me, you better get out of this tech market, and you better buy all the gold you can. I'm shorting all the tech, and I'm buying all the gold I can, all these gold juniors. And I thought he'd finally lost his marbles. And 2 weeks later, I was broke, and he was fund manager of the year. So. Okay, so then bring it forward, I guess, to a couple of years ago. I just happened to be in Miami and ran into Eric there, and he was telling me all about this Wallbridge mining, and it was at 16 cents at the time, and he thought it had great potential, and the area was underexplored and wasn't explored properly. Wallbridge was at 16 cents, as I said, and I had a large stake in a company called Great Thunder Gold as a private investor at the time. And when I didn't listen to him the first time about the collapsing of the tech wreck and the mining rally, I wasn't going to not listen to him this time. So when he says it's a good area, somebody should be there, I ran back to Vancouver and called up the CEO of the company and told him that Great Thunder should start trying to find a land position in and around this area. So that's what happened. Great Thunder was lucky enough to secure some land packages directly to the north adjoining, as well as to the south, some pretty sizable land packages in that area. I guess since then, funny, if you go back, Balmoral Resources owned this whole area, and they sold the Fenelon deposit to Wallbridge in tough times. Wallbridge has taken on a new geological model and drilled a little bit deeper and did things a little bit differently than Balmoral. And since then, Wallbridge has gone up from 16 cents as high as $1.30 with almost $1 billion market cap, and they bought out Balmoral Resources. So Davy swallowed Goliath, I guess. In the meantime, the day that they were announcing that takeover, it was closing. Balmoral had drilled a hole to the south, and they had a really large intercept of gold. And we had just acquired property about 3 kilometers, so that's about 1.25 miles. And in the mining world, that's fairly close. We just acquired that land a couple of weeks before, so that was a thrill for us. So because we were in that area and we had secured that land package, I called Eric up, said, hey, you told me about that wall bridge. I got a company here that's got some land around there. So he initially wrote his first check around 25 cents. The stock's now somewhere around 80, 85, 90 cents Canadian. We just did another private placement at 65 cents, which he participated. And I believe he's somewhere in the 15% range as far as ownership. I think I'm about 18%. So we only have about 35 million shares outstanding. So it's a very tightly held company. We have 3.5 million cash in the bank, and we are set to start our exploration program very shortly.
All right. Well, that's exciting. You're going to start exploration, and that's a near-term plan.
Yes.
What other things should investors be excited about?
Well, I mean, we're well financed. We have a beautiful share structure. As far as, we only have about 2.5 million warrants and very few options, so we don't have any real hood over top of us. We have some great land position to the north and south of Wallbridge, which has turned into quite a success. We also have some excellent lithium properties that happen to come with the company, and we're well cashed up now, so we're just going to start working on all these projects. So it's time to make news and try and build the company from here.
All right, just so people know, it's GTG in Canada, and over the counter in the States, the ticker is GTGFF. Now let me ask you this. I mean, we keep hearing that the majors are discovering less and less gold. They're going to need to do a lot of acquisitions to continue to find the stuff. When does the demand pour into the junior space, in your view? What's it going to take?
Well, I mean, it was a spectacular April, May, June. And when I mean spectacular, I mean, it was very frothy and beautiful. Even July and August were really great. But April, May, June, there were finally buyers showed up to the junior mining market. And Mr. Sprott himself probably invested in 10, 20, 30, 40 companies. He probably bought 20%. They were all so happy to get some cash in the bank. Most of those stocks have gone up, since that time, 100, 200%, some of them more than that. And those placements came free trading, 4-month hold in Canada. So, I mean, I think a combination of the U.S. election being a little bit wonky, the gold price stalling out a little bit, and all that stock coming free trading of old financings has kind of just slowed it down for a little bit. And I think we have to digest that for a little while until we make our next leg up.
Well, Blair, before we wrap this one up, I've had many CEOs on, CEOs like Keith Neumeyer, actually of a silver company. Oh, I should ask you that. What, in your view, should the relationship of gold to silver be? I'm talking about the silver to gold ratio. Right now it's probably close to 75 to 1, 80 to 1. Based on how the stuff is mined and found in the Earth's crust, like when I talk to Keith, he says we find about a 9 to 1 ratio in the real world. Do you think a 75 or 80 to 1 silver to gold ratio is wonky?
I definitely do. And I think the silver price is very easy to manipulate for these banks. It's not super liquid. I hear Eric talk about it all the time. I've talked to him about it. I hear him all the time. He's a true believer that will come back somewhere at least to the 20 to 1, possibly all the way down to 9 to 1. As these banks unravel these positions, because this is not going to be sustainable for them. So if that happens, I think there's, silver could see $150, $160. I would never bet against Eric and his opinions, because I sat next to him for 5 years. He's a very smart man, and he's always ahead of the curve.
Yeah, he sure seems to be. I'm just always fascinated, when I order a little bit of silver and it comes, I'm always just fascinated by how rare it is. I mean, there used to be a time in the world, in the United States, where the banks actually had silver and gold in the vaults. Now, not only do they not have any silver and gold in the vaults. In many cases, they don't even have very much fiat paper in the vaults. Everything is fractional reserve, fractional reserve, fractional reserve, down to the tenth of a tenth of a tenth of physical is on hand. I just think it's amazing. When we talk about precious metals, they really truly are precious, aren't they?
Yes. And in silver especially, I mean, if Biden ends up winning and this whole environmental initiative keeps moving forward, I mean, solar panels are a great consumer of silver. And right now, these ETFs seem to be consuming pretty much almost all the production, these ETFs that are silver-backed ETFs. So I don't know where they're going to get all this silver from. And that's why I think that big wave is coming that is going to end this trade of manipulation of keeping the silver price down and set it on its way.
Yeah. Well, as we round out the conversation, just for those listening who might think about taking a flyer on Great Thunder Gold, guys, always do your own due diligence. Always, always, always. So you can reach out to Great Thunder Gold, go visit the website, do some more research. But Blair, since you're the CEO and we have you here, just give us the elevator pitch for Great Thunder Gold, your business model, cliff notes on why people might want to take a shot at this one.
Okay. I guess, first of all, ownership, between myself, the CEO, and close friends, family, and large shareholders. We are well backed. So number one, most importantly, we have some great shareholders that are true long-term believers in this company. I've been around the business for 31 years. I'm still young. I have a lot of energy. I'm in the flow of many things. So I'm always looking at acquisitions and deals and things that could add value to our company. We're cashed up. We're well back. So if another opportunity arises, we'll be able to jump on it. We are set to drill next to a very big discovery that Walbridge has. It's a developing story that they're spending tens of millions of dollars drilling. So we have news coming from that camp all the time on top of us drilling. And yeah, I guess that's it. I mean, this is an exciting time to be a shareholder because we're set to embark on our inaugural drilling program around a great discovery. We're also looking always for new discoveries. I'm watching every day and have my ear to the ground. If there's any big new discovery, you can bet Great Thunder Gold will be one of the first companies there.
All right, very good. Guys, if you want to check out more, you can go to greatthundergold.com, read all about their northbound property, the northbound extension, and the Southern Star property. Really juicy areas to search for gold. And our guest has been President and CEO of Great Thunder Gold, Blair Naughty. Blair, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you for having me.
Yeah, a pleasure. And guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll remind you, SGTReport.tv is the place to be for exclusives, and SGTReport.com is the place to be for real news 24/7, the antidote to corporate propaganda. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. We appreciate you. God bless. Bye-bye.